Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
The National Park Service in Louisiana reverses its decision and now allows the distribution of Bibles once again. I am Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Shawn Akers, the vice president of Middle Eastern Affairs for Liberty Counsel. Shawn, this is in your home state, Louisiana, and it's Thibodaux, Louisiana, where this comes from, where there was the National Park Service, and they ultimately told an individual by the name of Shirley Elliott, who sold produce, and she made homemade jellies at the Thibodaux Farmers Market there. And while she was there, she would put down her Bibles that she would make available for people. And the Park Service individual said, "You can't do that because of federal property," and so they stopped until Liberty Counsel intervened.
You know, Matt, I've heard you so many times explain the content-neutral provisions and how you can look and see just on its face what's going on here. And in this particular case, there was nothing that stopped anyone else from giving things away, but yet again, we see the state overreacting and acting like if there's anything to do with Christianity, that it taints everything else that's going on and has to be stopped. And in reality, it's nice to see someone higher up in the Park Service come back and say, you know what, it's all right for her to give away her little Bibles.
Well, Shirley Elliott, since 2011, has been setting up in this, basically a farmer's market. And she's had, along with her goods that she would sell, she had free Bibles. And she was setting up near the Jean Lafitte National Historic Park in Louisiana. And in 2012, December 1 of 2012, a park ranger came by and saw that she had her goods there for the farmer's market. And by the way, she also had some Bibles. They're free. Anybody who wants to take a Bible could take a Bible. She wasn't forcing it on them. And the park ranger said, "You can't have that Bible there because this is federal property." You know, the fact of the matter is, this is absurd that the park ranger thought that because it's federal property, you can't have a Bible, that somehow is prohibited by the Constitution. And whether it's out of ignorance, which I will say that this person probably was operating out of ignorance, or out of hostility, maybe they had a opposition to the fact that these are Bibles, the end result's the same. It's unconstitutional censorship, and it's absolutely absurd. So that's what ultimately got Liberty Counsel to get involved and act.
But thank goodness, though, that you've got Liberty Counsel and you've got people like Miss Elliott who didn't just take that on face value and say, you know what, this park ranger is a federal official or a state official. He must be right. So I'm going to just have to take my Bibles away. She didn't do that.
No,
she said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right to me. Let's check this out. Let me call Liberty Counsel. Let's see whether there's something that can be done here.
Well, Richard Mastar, one of our litigation counsel at Liberty Counsel, drafted a letter to the Park Service and the Rangers and addressed this to the park superintendent and said that this was unconstitutional censorship. The good news is that 2 days after receiving the letter, the acting superintendent wrote, quote, "We regret the misunderstanding regarding the distribution of religious materials. The NPS, which is the National Park Service, respects the right of vendors to make free religious materials available. Please assure Miss Elliott that she is welcome to offer free Bibles at her produce and homemade jellies table." And that is the letter from the acting superintendent reversing this position. We're obviously thankful for the quick involvement of this acting superintendent to stop this absurd situation. The problem is that if Shirley Elliott had not done anything,
that's right,
even though she was constitutionally in the right, she would have been operating under this mistaken notion that church and state means that you can't have any religious material on federal property, which is absolutely absurd. So she was smart enough to be able to reach out to Liberty Counsel, and we were able to intervene and set the situation right.
You know, one of the single greatest tactics, Matt, that the left has used to cause liberty to wither away is just by bluffing. And in this particular case, it shows that whether this park ranger was, like you say, acting out of ignorance or acting out of hostility, either way, if it was ignorance, we have a national pandemic. We have a national problem of reprogramming where we've treated things of God like they were anathema to liberty and like they can't have any place whatsoever in the public square. You don't see anybody else in this farmer's market that was challenged over what they were offering at their tables. But if it has the Bible written on it, then you've got a problem in some people's minds. It's important.
And you have to ask the question, how did we get to this point? This was a country founded upon the very notion of religious freedom. This was a country that ultimately has a First Amendment to the United States Constitution that says we have the free exercise of religion and we have the freedom of speech and government can't intrude into those areas. And we've fought the revolution over those very basic liberties. And America is one of the most freedom-loving, freedom-producing countries in the world. And now we are in the 21st century, and there are people who are park rangers or they're superintendents in schools or they're principals or wherever they might be, and they have this mistaken notion that there's this radical divide between church and state, so radical that if you're a Christian or you have religious imagery or religious literature or religious icons or pictures on your shirt or jewelry, somehow that is impermissible within a public venue. That is absolutely absurd, and that myth has to ultimately be debunked.
And Matt, in this particular case, we can divide this into two actions. One are actions by the state itself. And in fact, if you go back in history, you find Congress being opened with prayer from the very beginning. We find constant acts by the state itself that weren't afraid to acknowledge God. But this is worse than that. This is the mistaken belief, the mistaken idea that government somehow bears the responsibility to stop private individuals, whether it's school children writing an essay on God or whether it's a little lady that has Bibles at her jelly stand, that it's somehow imperative on the government to stop these people from acknowledging God in any way if they happen to be in a public forum.
Yeah, it's gone from the government can't endorse religion and therefore be affirmatively involved in religion to the government has to stop religion. It's just absurd that government now is being asked to, or some people think it's in the position to actually stop people from exercising their constitutional rights. We see this happen, for example, in schools. We're working on a film on religious liberty that will be ultimately released next year sometime. One of the people that's actually working with us on this film was at a college. And two girls, came up to this individual and prayed with him. The law enforcement official for the college, this was in Florida just a few weeks ago, came up to the girls and told them that they could not pray and said, look, I'm a Christian. I don't agree with it, but you can't pray on public property. They were having a private prayer on a public school campus. And so all the more reason why we need to make a movie on religious freedom, because Absolutely. There's an absurd idea out there that government has to actually stop the free exercise of religion and stop free speech if it is religious, particularly if it's Christian.
One of the keys to this is that the people, Matt, know when to speak up, that they know when this sounds like it's tyrannical, it probably is, and it's time to challenge it, to speak up. Movies like you are producing are going to give people some educational skills to stop and say, you know what we're going through in our school looked a whole lot like what we saw in that movie, and it's time for us to speak up and challenge this.
Well, we've got a Patriots Handbook series, and one of those is on religious liberty in the public school. We sent this to nearly 100,000 public school principals from kindergarten all the way through high school in 2012. Every single principal in the public school in America got one of these books. But that doesn't mean that every teacher or every superintendent or every school board member has them. It means every principal has them. We want you to be able to take this book and be able to get it out into your community. You can call Liberty Counsel. You can order the Patriots Handbook on Religious Liberty in the Public School. It's a small pocket-sized handbook. We also have two other ones that go along with this, one on political activity of pastors and churches, and one on the Constitution. It has the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and other founding documents. You can order that series by going to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org, or call us at 1-800-671-1776. I also want to point your attention to the Awakening 2013, coming in Central Florida, April 19 and 20. Friday night and Saturday, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann will be speaking on Saturday. Also, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, who was one of the original founders of the Delta Force, will be speaking there as well, along with over 50 speakers from around the country. Go to theawakeningusa.org or lc.org for more information. That's lc.org.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.